I just got really loud here for a second. Hopefully everybody's getting settled back in from leaving and coming. Sorry about that. I want to make sure, because I think I've gone live on the Justice for Shannon page as well. So I'm trying to figure out how to find that. So give me 1 second. Ah, okay. It worked. Now I'm gonna have to keep track of who is watching on my YouTube channel and who is watching on Facebook. So this should get interesting. So we have a few people over on, I run the Justice for Shannon Paulk Facebook page. Wes runs the Justice for Shannon Paulk Facebook group. They are both in the description of this video. If you could please click on those and join and follow, or however you do pages, like you like a page and then you can follow it. So that would be great. Anything that I hear, I always try to put it, if it's, for the public, I put it on the Shannon Paulk Facebook page. So any new releases as far as podcasts, we just had one drop from True Crime Garage. So that was really cool. I know I'm familiar with them just because they're a podcast, and I used to be there as well. Well, not with them, but that's where I started out, and came to YouTube because it's easier. You don't have to edit the audio. But yeah, so True Crime Garage, they just uploaded, I think it was like either yesterday or the day before. They did an episode. It seems like they used a lot of the information that the Justice for Shannon Paulk Facebook group had put together with the family members and the neighbors and friends of Shannon, which was, now that I look back on that, gosh, I was so just like green. As far as like the online type stuff, instead of just consuming and like reading all, books and things like that. But that was like my first, Facebook group type about a case. This was other than the Delphi case here in Indiana. But man, like, how do I really like sit and take a second to like think about the engagement and the involvement that we had? Like, I'm a complete stranger. Like, I'm a nobody. Like, I'm not like law enforcement or anything, just a woman in Indiana with a camera and a microphone and a big mouth, and I'm very persistent, I guess you could say. Um, so yeah, I mean, if you join that group and you look back, the participation in order to put together like a civilian timeline, because I said this on the podcast when I first started with the Shannon Paulk case, and I still say to this day, the devil's in the details. Like, the devil being the killer, he's in the small little details that when you look at them all together, you he's there. He's there somewhere, and it's just a matter of like how many details as we the public, can put together as far as, and what is our role? How can we help? And I was listening. I hate listening to myself, but I think as far as comprehensive, I think I'm the only one that has interviewed um, family and friends I mean, like, a lot. Shannon's dad was involved with that podcast. Her aunt and uncle Charlie, he passed away, which is awful. That I Yeah, I can't. I was thinking about coming back to Prattville in October around the time that her body was found. Um, and the thought of like coming to Prattville and not getting to see Charlie is, yeah, it's really, really sad. And so Charlie and Tammy and some of Shannon's friends, just like a bunch of people really all pitched in, just like they did with the Facebook group when we were trying to put together a timeline. And, that was really a really awesome time. And it kind of just shows you the commitment. And I think it shows you who Shannon was, Shannon Paulk. She was 11 years old when she was murdered. She was abducted on today, 23 years ago today. It's been 23 years with no answers. And her body was subsequently found on October 6th of 2001. So if everybody remembers back to what was going on in 2001, we had 9/11 happen. So the FBI were involved in this case. They did a lot as far as search warrants goes, and as far as collecting like different types of evidence. I do know that. And then obviously when 9/11 happened, a lot of those resources were put on hold for a minute. And there's this Shannon had to have been, I didn't know her. I feel like I do just because I've talked to so many people that loved her and knew her, and just kind of one of her best friends, I think. And Uncle Charlie, like Uncle Charlie said, she loved, like, just that simple is she loved. Like, that's what she put out to the world, is just love. And I thought that was like the two words that can just, when you think about your life and what you leave behind, you want it to be that, And then her friend, who said a lot of other really awesome stuff. It's in episode 1 of the podcast. And I have a whole playlist for Shannon Paulk on my YouTube channel. But her friend had said, she always tried her best. She tried her best. Like, she tried. And that's what I've always tried to keep remembering as we're going through all this. And every time I go live, it's just like to try my best. And but this neighborhood, it was so again, Prattville, Alabama. This was in 2001. The neighborhood was called Candlestick Mobile Home Park, and it is kind of well, let's just look at it. Let me check in with Facebook and make sure everybody's doing okay and no one has any questions. It's good. I'm glad you guys are all here. Thank you for coming. We've got quite a few people watching. No comments yet on Facebook, but we have some here on YouTube. Hi, Crimezilla, Lake. Vid Inquiries, good to see you. Monica, hi. GP, good to see you. Hoosier, hey. Hey, Chris, thank you for being here. Sunny Beach. Oh, my volume. Is that better? I was having trouble with it earlier, so I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. My mic, did that get any better? Hi, Pigs Fly. Greetings from Nebraska. All right. Let me check to see. Did that get any better? I can try one more thing. Hello? Testing? It says it's coming in pretty good. I don't want to blow out everyone's speakers. Okay. You can hear better? Let me know if it's better now. Hopefully. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, good. I don't know what I did. I put on echo cancellation, so I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with it. Hey, David. Thank you for coming. Good to see you. Okay. So let's take a look at Candlestick so you can get a picture. Oh, hi, Jeanette. Oh, I can see the Facebook comments on my StreamYard. So that's amazing. Awesome. Okay. Sorry, I haven't gone live in a while. I'm a little rusty. No, that's not what I want to do. Okay. We're going to take a look at the neighborhood that Shannon Paulk went missing from. I say missing because she was seen right about the last time she was seen was our best guess that we were, at least from the Facebook group and what I was able to piece together from newspapers.com and Jeanette's help with, because she saved them all over all of these years, anything relevant to Shannon, and was a lady by the name of Miss Mary, and she has passed on, but Shannon was very close to her, and she would go to her house and visit, and this particular day she did. And unfortunately, Miss Mary had an appointment her daughter was picking her up for, so she wasn't able to kind of hang out with Shannon on the porch. Literally, the picture I'll show you here in a second, the very last, like, I'm pretty sure from what I was told, this is one of the last pictures of Shannon that was ever taken was on Miss Mary's porch. So you'll get to see Miss Mary's porch and what Miss Mary could view from her porch. When I went there in 2019, I don't even, it's changed so much. It was like, from what we see here, because I have this on 2002. So this is going back, and it goes from 1998 to 2002. So, but there was a lot of changes. This whole street right here is gone now. Ashros does not exist anymore because it's a floodplain. And what you can see where they're starting to, like, there used to be a whole row here, and they're already gone. In 1998, you can see that they were here. So they started getting rid of a lot of these because there is a creek. So you have this is State Road 31 or Memorial Drive, and then you have Pine Creek. And so Candlestick is just right in the middle of those two things. So you can see a little better on this one. Let's go a little bit more straight, but it's not a very big neighborhood, and it's even smaller now. A lot of these are gone or empty. But anyway, so she was last seen about like right around in here. Where's the entrance? Here's the entrance, and there's like one way in. This is when I went there anyway. This is, you can go out this way. But I wouldn't have known that unless the person that I was visiting their house had told me that. Like, so this is not an entrance by any means. I mean, if you live in there or you know about it, yeah, you would think, you could turn in here, but there's not like, it's just now it's mostly these are all abandoned. Like, there's nothing there. At least when I was there in 2019, this little Shannon liked to go here and play. It looks like a little castle. That little landmark is still there, but so there's basically one entrance in off of a pretty, major highway. It's at least a 4-lane highway here. Pretty busy, actually, pretty busy. Good luck turning left. But that's exactly what we did when we turned left out of here, when we drove from Candlestick to where her body was found, and we'll go there in a second. But so Miss Mary sees her, and she tells her, she can't hang out. Shannon had a stroller with her. This is what was accounted to me from her family members, that Shannon had a stroller with her that she had picked up because she was told to. So there was a few neighbors before Miss Mary that saw her, and one after. And I got to meet that family when I was there in 2019 too. And I don't think that family is, you never know, but like as far as viability, I mean, when I met him, he was very shaken. He came to the vigil, and I asked him straight up, and he, his reaction was just a very visceral one. Like, imagine someone asking you if you killed a child, hurt a child, like, and you didn't do it. Like, I know a lot of us watch a lot of interrogations. I do anyway. And it's a very pointed question, but his reaction was literally like I could feel it, and not only see it, but I could feel it, of like an adamant no. And so Miss Mary sees her with this stroller on her head. I think that our best estimated time was around 11:45. And she's walking from Miss Mary's, which I believe was like right around in here. And she's walking around the pond here. So she sees her coming. So Shannon lived here, right here in this house. And this is, what's it called? Yeah. No, it's not Blue Jays. Well, now I'm like, I don't know why it's not popping up on there. So she's walking this way down this road, and she's got the stroller over her head. But then, so the last people to see her that day was in this house, right? I believe it was one of these right here. And she had just gone up to their house and asked if she could see a puppy. She had helped rescue a puppy. And remember, Shannon's been gone all summer. So this is August 16th. School is getting ready to start, I believe, the next week. She was super excited to go to a new Daniel Pratt, which was a new elementary that was opening. And she was super excited to go to school. She had gone shopping with her aunt and I believe her mother the weekend before. And she was just really ready for school. So school's getting ready to start, but she had been in, I believe, Georgia for quite a bit of that summer. And she was just getting back. And I can remember when I talked to her friend, it was like, they were getting ready to move. And so the night before, they had met up with Shannon. They lived on this road. Shannon lived on this road. And they met up in this, easement type area to say goodbye. And they were coming back on the morning of the 16th. And they didn't see Shannon, but she doesn't remember exactly what time they got there, but she just remembered it being on. She went to their house. Her sister went to Shannon's home. She reports that she talked to Shannon's sister, Lisa. Lisa was at home. Her mom was at work. She had left really early that morning, and she had taken Caleb was Shannon's nephew. So he's just a baby. And the stroller, that's what Shannon was told to go and pick up at some point. I don't think it was like set time, you got to go pick this up. Just like sometime get this done of getting the stroller back. And but yeah, one of her friend's memories was of Shannon and Caleb hanging out, and her and her sister kind of hanging out in here, and Shannon was outside playing with her nephew. And and she had said to me, this is a part of the podcast, that I think it was Shannon's mom came and called for Shannon and Caleb, bring Caleb, it's time for dinner, and that was like one of her last like memories of Shannon. And they did not see her. So they're moving from Metz to another area I think it was still in Prattville, but out of Candlestick Mobile Home Park on the 16th. And, they didn't see Shannon. There's a lot of people that are just out. Like this was, to me, it was described as kind of they had cookouts. The families would get together, like everybody kind of watched out for everybody else. But then again, this is an afternoon on a Thursday, so probably a lot of people at work, but there were also a lot of people that were home. Like Miss Mary was home. The last person that they saw her, he worked. The mom was already at work. So the boys are home because they're, same school. So they're not to school yet. They have 2 sons. And he was getting ready to leave for work, but they kind of had a house rule of, and I have to say, people think that's odd. I don't at all. I don't at all. We have a very similar house rule here. And that's not necessary. It's for no one's protection, but you just don't, there's just things that you don't. I don't know. I guess maybe I'm more influenced because of what I do here and what I read. But yeah, like, being alone with little girls, like that would be, I don't think that's odd that she wasn't allowed to come in. But so she was kind of told, like, no, you can't come in. And she said she was going to go home. And when Lisa got up, the TV's on, and she said it was on pretty loud. I think she said there looked like either a snack was eaten or breakfast of some sort. And the TV was on, and but Shannon wasn't there, which was not odd for Shannon to be out and about in the neighborhood. So Lisa didn't think anything of that. This is just a normal Thursday until it wasn't. I can't even imagine what that is like. But 11:45 is our best guess, and she was either taken in. She either went into someone's home and did not come out alive, and then was later taken to where her body was found, or she was immediately taken out of Candlestick. And then there is the site somewhere else across. So you've got where she was taken as your point 1. And then point 2 was wherever she was, whether it was inside a home here, whether it was somewhere else, and then taken to where her body was found. That's the 2 options of what happened. Someone pulled in, she went with them. Her friend said she was a very trusting child. And if she thought, someone's going to take her because she'd been asking to get candy. So that's why I bring that up, that one of the other people that she visited, I mean, you can kind of, when we went through with the Facebook group, you could literally kind of see an 11-year-old's thought process of like being super organized about who she was going to visit that day. Like she started at her house, and I'm sure she probably cut through here, and she went to a lady living in this house, and her baby was asleep. So she told her, stop back by. And then I'm sure she kind of cut through here, and she went to, I think, like 2 more people's homes. And she picked up the stroller, and then she's, I can just see her now meandering through here, stopping by here, going over here. She picks up the stroller, then she makes her way around, the pond, which I guess was where Shannon was a lot of the time, was around the pond. And Miss Mary sees her, they have a interaction. She watches her walk over here, and then she knocks on this door. And so to me, she's made this logical like pattern of where all she's visiting. And then, she ends up here. So that she traveled on back to her home kind of makes sense, and then went home for a little while, left again. We don't know. But we do know that the last time she was seen was by this neighbor, and best guess approximately was 11:45 a.m. And then when he is leaving for work, so this is an working afternoon shift, so not very long after last seen Shannon, he sees the stroller when he's leaving for work. Now remember, Miss Mary saw her carrying the stroller on her head. And I'm assuming this is like the strollers that my mom had for my brother when I was younger. And this is like in the 80s. But they're super simplistic. Like if you have kids and you go to the airport, this is like an airport type stroller. Because today, like strollers are just outrageously, fancy and bells and whistles. And I mean, if they could just keep taking care of the baby, like when's that going to come? But yeah, these ones were very just like a sack, basically, like a little frame. So I could see her kind of carrying that on her head, and why it would be memorable to Miss Mary. And then, but yes, so the stroller is seen by this, and it was later, it was picked up later on by someone else. And they took it home and cleaned it up because they were getting ready to have a baby. And then when this all like happened, they were figuring out like, talking to people. This is her family. Her aunt was telling me this. She had the lady, I think she lived over here. Who had taken the stroller, it was just out. She thought it was out for trash. So she picks it up and she takes it home. So we have like a few people that have seen this stroller. Now, could it be insignificant? Yeah, I have no idea. It seemed to not be significant to the police. But I don't know if there was a lot. Like, I was surprised to hear that her best friend, that lived right here, wasn't questioned. Or her sister. They were both very close with them. So some of her family members, like extended family members that she was actually really close with, that like I feel like they raised her right along with Marie and Billy. It's that type of a family. Like I have that type of a family. So my aunts and uncles would have a lot of relevant information if I was a kid and I went missing, because I spent weeks at their house, because I was no schooled. So they would have totally relevant information. But yeah, I think that that's kind of the timeline that we came up with as a group. And now, so when if the trailer is, it's not the whole drive. It's not very long. It's really not that far. So we came out here, we turned left on 31 and, no, did I pass it or not? Haven't gotten there yet. That's a whole nother case. Whoa, gotten way off here. Okay, so, basically 31 until you get to this little, the video shows, where's that road? Like right. I think it's right here. So we turned like, took another left right here. And then the road kind of, this is a red dirt road, it is distinct. It is a distinct road. And her body was found in this hunting preserve. And this is called Luke's Loop. But the video, the little trailer is Wes and I actually going to this spot. And I think it's significant because there's no way. There's just no way. Like this road alone right here, I can't even tell. If I wasn't following somebody, I would have never. You don't even see it, especially if you're coming from this way. And then we did actually go, and I looked, and it is just as hard coming from this way. It was. It is. Let me just take that off. It is not very easy to spot at all. And it wasn't back then, like that was in 2019. And so it goes from 1997 to 2006. So yeah, you're just not gonna, you don't just stumble upon this place, I'm telling you. But if you watch that trailer of now after Shannon was murdered, they put up a gate, like one of those metal kind of like block people from just driving into this hunting preserve. But that gate was not there at the time that she went missing and was found. So but you could drive a car easily. Like it's a fire lane road. I mean, it's a road. And then even into the loop part where her body was found, you could see where people have driven back there. There's literally like the tracks are still kind of there. And then it loops around. So you could see where I don't think this is a spot where just anybody's going to know about. You're just not. I mean, it is. But I can also see that if you do know where it is for nefarious reasons, because you've been scouting it out, or you were a hunter and you hunted in this area, I can see where this is the first place you would go when you need to get rid of something and get rid of something quickly. I'm talking in the mind of the killer here. Because that's what they treated her like. This little precious little girl was put in a trash bag and just dumped out here. And honestly, like I can remember to when I talked to Miss Marie, Shannon's mother, about the day Shannon was found, and her aunt Tammy and Jeanette had gone there, when they're hearing this, and like, man, the reverberation motions, it's still very vivid conversation for me. So I can't even imagine that day for them. But Miss Marie had said, she's like, they found, like, she was found by hunters, and the next day this land was set to be like plowed. If that had happened, Shannon would likely still be a missing child. And I can remember both Billy, her father, and her mom being like, at least we know where she is. And they have a beautiful headstone and spot, like a whole area at Shannon's graveside. And they know where she is. And they were saying, because there's a lot of parents that just don't know. Your child is there one day, they vanish, and there's nothing. They don't know whether they're alive. They don't know whether they're dead. But they know that this is foul play and whatever, so I've talked to, Charles's mother, Mrs. Allen, like the turmoil of not knowing where your child is in the world is horrible. And so that was one of the kind of the things of just like, so the hunters are out there, and they said they had passed by the trash bag. And we went out there. There was like remnants of, like, I wouldn't call it like this is a site that you dump stuff. I don't know. The things that we saw out there looked like it had, there were some fresh things out there. There was like a cigarette butt out there that was definitely fresh when we went. But then there were some things that were probably been there for a while, but obviously like a shirt or, could have been a hunter, it could have been, kids out there. I don't know, but it doesn't like, but the overall feeling of this area is nobody's here. Like this place is isolated and it is overgrown. It's not like there's, you know, um, you could see a bunch of activity. That's why that one cigarette butt really stood out. So I was just like, man, this is like someone just dropped this here. But but yeah, that was in 2019. And so their dogs, so they had kind of passed by, I think more than likely what had happened from what I have gathered and from visiting there. Um so horrible. Like more than likely the killer just kind of hurriedly tossed her into some heavier brush because it's like a loop. So, but the brush, I tried to go in some of the areas and like, yeah, good luck with the brambles and vines and stuff. But in this one little area is kind of a clearing, and there's some trees that are scattered in this little clearing area. But for the most part, everything surrounding it is thick. You're not gonna get far, especially where Shannon was found. I mean, I tried walking back in there, and I didn't get very far at all. Like, of course, I didn't go super prepared, so I look ridiculous. I had those like boots in my car, just randomly in my trunk, but otherwise, I had not come prepared to be going on a deep wood hike that for that trip. I don't know why I didn't prepare for that when I went out there, but so in the video, yeah, I look absolutely ridiculous, and that's fine, whatever. They were like rain boots from my daughter, actually. I'm glad they were there though. So, but yeah, no, yeah, it was really thick, and so I think that unfortunately, like just a total disregard for human life, and yet that a life of a precious child, to put them in a trash bag. But obviously, over time, most of little Shannon was skeletonized. There was still some that was not, but for the most part. So I think what happened was likely scavengers had gotten a hold of parts of that bag and like pulled it out into this little clearing where these hunters were, trying to leave to go back to where their truck was parked. I'm assuming the truck was parked, along this road here. And in the video, you can see where that would come into this part. But I mean, it was just, um, so their dogs were like not, and that's when they were like, let's take a second look at that. And they look at it again. I think they said they passed by it like twice, and the dogs just weren't letting it go. And so they're trying to load them up, and then they went over and looked, and then that's how Shannon was found on October 6th of 2001. And just a uh, horrible, horrible day. And I am terrible at keeping up with chats. So when I show you guys anything on my screen, I can't see the chat. So I hope everyone can hear me. I hope everyone can see everything okay. If anyone has any questions, I am so sorry, but hopefully that's a quick synopsis. And if you would like the deeper dive, that is available on the Facebook page and in the Facebook group. It's called Timeline, I think. Hey, Johnny, Angel Bear, good to see you. Oh, Lisa, yeah. Okay, so she's yeah, that's what I pictured. Are you talking about the, stroller? Hey, not DB. Good to see ya. Cryptex, hello, sir. Great to have you here. Thanks for coming. Um, yeah, I would love for, I'm okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. Like, I mean, I can just picture it's not, but yeah. So I think that's odd that she goes to pick this up to the point where she's carrying it around with her to when she was knocking on another person's door. They see her with it, and then she just sets it down. I don't know. That one was kind of, but I can remember when in the on the podcast, I would kind of ruminate over the audios that I had collected from people that were there and knew Shannon, and family members. So then my dad and I would discuss it and bounce things off of each other. And that was one of the things that we had talked about on, while I was recording and not, was the fact that, like, um, it could have been, because if she came to your house and you're like, "Oh, come on in," and you gotta, it could be a red herring that could have been like the killer put it there, or, the abductor, or she left it there and got into somebody's car. I don't know, but I do believe with enough, like, stories that have been gathered, like, it was there, but its relevance, who knows? I just know that the time frame from when Shannon was last seen until, um, the time they started searching with her, like, that window, I think it's pretty small, but again, it was not odd for Shannon to be out and about. So when Marie got home from work, like, Shannon not being home, like, that's not a big deal. I mean, my daughter and her friend, like, I was more of the house where the kids would come, but I feel like, "Hey, have you let your mom know you're here?" When my girls were little and their friends would come from all around the neighborhood, and they'd be over and they'd be playing in the girls' room, and it'd be like, "Does your mom know you're here?" And it would be like they'd done been here for 3 hours. I fed them lunch, like, and I'm just kind of like, maybe we should make sure that, and they'd be like, "Yes," or "Why don't you give them a call?" So I and there was some friends that my girls would do that too, and I knew where they were, but, like, I could see where the parent would be like, same kind of thing. Where my daughter, especially my older one, was over at their house, just the same as, their daughter was at my house. It's just a normal neighborhood thing. I know the people, they know me. We had a Doberman, so my daughter walking in between these two houses was, no thing to me, because our dog would have, he was a better bodyguard than he'd have died for them, and whoever tried to take them would have died as well, or him. But that they ran around everywhere, as long as they had Doberman with them, I let them go. Be kids, be outside. We live in such a different world now where kids are just literally going to end up being hunchbacks someday because they don't leave their room or their phone. And it's so sad. But back then, this is normal. This is in 2001. So this little girl being gone is not a thing. It's not a big deal until dinner time, like, you were home by a certain time. I had the same thing when I was growing up. My friends all get out of this house and come back when it's dinner time. That was just a different time. And so that's when her mom and sister, they call her other sister, and they start calling family. She starts asking around to Shannon's friends, and it's like, well, she must just be, and I could see where you would you don't want to face that moment. You want to, and I see that in a lot of cases when a child comes up missing, where they will do all kinds of things just to like, but once you make that phone call to the police, man, like, um, that's that moment in time that just kind of freezes where, and I think the call was finally made at like, Lisa, was it 7 or 9? But I know that like, uh after, 'cause a ton of people started coming, family members. Tammy, she tells a distinct story about coming in, but this was after the police had already been called. And right after the police were called and they get there, they get called away for something else. So at first it wasn't quite taken as seriously. That's in the papers though. But then at one point, whenever Tammy arrives, I think she was working. So I don't think she got there until pretty kind of late at night, not like still on the 16th, but later, 10, 11. They had it blocked off. So you didn't leave and Billy said the same thing when he got there the next day, because he lived in Afala. When they were trying to come into Candlestick, the police had it. You had to, you weren't coming in or out of there. So on the day that she was taken, this neighborhood was blocked off pretty quickly. So that also, yeah, Lisa says, yeah, it sucks. I remember it like, it was yesterday. I think the original call was 7. Then the mayor made them come back around. Okay. Yeah. So it was 7 and 9. And, oh, thank you, Kimosabi. Yeah. 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 You were not allowed? You were allowed company while mom was at work? I think you meant we're not, but I'm trying to remember. But yeah, I think you got me this sweatshirt. I love it. It's like you could see how worn it is. I wear it all the time. It's starting to get little knots on it, but it's like the perfect summer sweatshirt. And it's got, a picture of Shannon. It says justice for Shannon Paulk, and it has the day she was born, May 8th, 1990, August 16th of 2001. An angel, on angel's wings, you were taken away, but in my heart, you will always stay. And it says forever in remembrance of, oh my gosh, I need to like turn it around. I can't, you are missed. I can't read that cursive part, but I'm usually pretty good at reading upside down and backwards since I'm dyslexic. But yeah, this family's just been through a lot, and it's just time. But oh my gosh, I almost forgot one of the biggest things. There was I asked so Sergeant Tom Allen. He is the detective that is in charge of this case, and we've been emailing since at least 2020. I know, early 2020. And he's just been awesome. It was nice to meet him out when I was there. And he's always been very polite and answered my emails and stuff. So I recently reached back out to him and he sent me an update. So let's read that now. I'm sure family and at least, they probably already know this, but as far as the public, I don't know. I think some of us have known this, but hopefully there are some results coming soon. So I asked him if he's retired yet, because he's been telling me like, hey, I'm about to retire. He's been telling me that for like, I think like at least 2 years and he's still there. So I think that this case is like, in his heart too. And he doesn't want to leave until it's solved, and I totally respect that. I understand that. And so let's read this. But so I asked him about that, any new information I could share. And he said he's still at it. The last week of May, I had 8 specialized FBI agents come in for a week to review Shannon's case, worked through paper and reviewed evidence for submission to a private lab. We are waiting on a quote from the private lab evidence where the evidence will be sent. Testing will probably be north of $30,000, but hopefully they can get something with the new technology. We just have to make sure that their work can be prosecutable in Alabama. I am excited and will be hanging out to see how this push works out. I would hate to leave before results get back. Yeah. And that's great. I know that if you guys are, if you follow the page and my YouTube, you've known that I had reached out to Gray Hughes Investigates, who does a lot of sponsorships for testing through Identifinders with Dr. Colleen Fitzpatrick. And so I had reached out to them and I'd asked Gray, and Gray Hughes Investigates, he's here on YouTube. He did an episode on Shannon. And during that episode, he offered to pay for the lab, and he even called Dr. Fitzpatrick, and they, I know that they had some talks, but for whatever reason, I don't know all the details behind it. But when he put prosecutable in Alabama, that kind of made me wonder if there was something to do with that, of why the FBI and the state didn't want to turn over their, evidence to a private lab. I mean, I don't know. I've seen other cases in Alabama, though, where they've sent off their evidence to less advanced laboratories, and they've been prosecuted. So I'm not sure what the deal was with that, but I don't know. Sometimes FBI can be a little funny, but I could see where, with what we have been told, they have a profile, a genetic profile that they think is linked to the killer. But the problem is there's not enough markers. So, okay. Little genetic breakdown here. So you go from, so you have your, you have your genome, you're like your entire genetic material. So a cell, you have a protein in a DNA. Let's see if I can say it right. Deoxyribonucleic acid. And inside of that is a chromosome. So you have 23 pairs. So you have your autosomal, you have, let's see, 21 of those. And then you have your XY, so your gender. So female would have XY chromosome. And then male, no, that's male. Male would have XY. Females have XX chromosomes. So the autosomal short tandem repeat, STR. So you have your chromosomes you get from both your parents, and that makes your pair. And then that pair is made up of, there's like 4 cytosine, thymine, adenine, and what's the other one? Guanine, I think. And then so inside, like, you have your identifying DNA. So like CODIS, for instance, CODIS takes specific, you have to have this amount of genetic material, genetic markers, points on your chromosome, on your short tandem repeat, that they can even upload it into CODIS. That's the, the combined national, like DNA, like national database, that is through the FBI. But if you don't meet the criteria for having enough markers, identifying markers, like we all have, our DNA is, we share, I don't remember the percentage right off the top of my head. I think it's like 98% with a banana, so most humans we have the same genetic material, but the crazy thing is that what is different, what is identifying to me versus you, 1 in a billion, like that it would be a misidentification between you and I. Even twins, identical twins. I have identical twin nephews. And while yes, but as soon as they're born, things start to change. Their DNA is changing, so it doesn't stay the same. And that's when you get more into like the epigenetic, like the things like that. But so with this profile, I've heard it's mitochondrial. So mitochondrial would be your maternal line. Then you have your Y DNA, which would be your paternal line. And then you have your autosomal DNA, which inside of your autosomal DNA is also very distinct identifying markers. But with the STR, which is the short tandem repeat DNA, you have to be able to, for this, they require 13 markers. I think that's what they require for CODIS. It might be 17, but say they only have 11. Well, they can't put it into CODIS, therefore they can't compare it to all the other, uploads from there. Like when you're arrested on a felony, they take your DNA. So what they can do is they can compare it, and they do that whether it's uploaded to CODIS or not. They compare it. So they have a suspect. They can compare that. But if it doesn't have enough identifying markers, good luck getting that to be your slam dunk in a courtroom, And so from what I have been told, there are, and just what I know from other cases, there's inclusion to such a high degree. Like I said, like if they have, I think it is like 13 markers. If you have that many markers, if you had 23, base pairs of the 46 chromosomes, if you had so say the killer cuts his finger and they're able to find like a blood drop that is not mixed with the victims. It's not mixed with anyone else's. It is just they lost their blood at the scene of the crime. They collect that. Obviously, even if that's not in CODIS, as soon as you compare that with a DNA sample, they're going to know. So that's got all that blood drop is going to more than likely contain the entire 23 base pairs of your DNA. When you have a mixed DNA, sometimes they decide to do the Y, because if it's a female victim, like get rid of anything that's female, we just knock that out. And then what we're left with in a mixed DNA profile or a touch DNA, but like the testing now is so advanced and so specific that single nucleotide polymorphisms. So that is a point. That is like so you have these chromosomes, and they're base pairs. You have 23 of them. And then the single, so that is that's a nucleotide. And then inside of that is like a polymorphism, which is a point in this genetic code. Like, I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen it when it's printed out into letters. It's just a random of A, T, A, T, A, T, C, G, a combination of those 4 letters. Those 4 letters stands for that thymine, adenine, I'm not saying them right, guanine, and cytosine. So that's what you're seeing, and that's represented in each one of those letters. And so when it is red, it looks like it's pretty crazy looking. But with this DNA, whether it's mitochondrial or not, which there's plenty of identifying markers, but the testing is just so advanced now that I just don't see how, if you have a sample at all, degraded, mixed, whatever, with how specialized everything is. That's why I'm glad. I mean, sucks that they have to pay $30,000 when it could have been done for free, because of Gray Hughes Investigates. But you know, like, it's, if it's being done, that was in May, so it's July. This is going to take 6 months to a year, if not longer, unfortunately. But man, you better be scared. The killer better be scared, because it's not as, so say you have a suspect, and there have been some suspects that have been, they were named very early on, and they are still suspects to this day, and they have not been ruled out. So when I hear that, and I know that there are suspects that have been ruled out, why? Why are some ruled out and some are not? Is it that they don't have enough of their genetic material that can be used in a court of law? Because there's a big difference between that court of law thing. So you want a statistical, you want 1 billion to 1, a 1 in a trillion, that it could be anyone else. So exclusion of everyone else. This profile that we have, obviously you have to have a lot of other evidence as well, circumstantial, other types of physical evidence. But if you have this, and they can now, with the technology that there is out there now, as soon as they do these testing, even down to the specifics in the S&Ps I was talking about, if you go into, so you have your identity, like in DNA, like I did it for medical reasons, because my daughter was diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome when she was about 6. So I did the 23andMe because I knew I could get the raw data profile so that I could upload it into health things and find out, if this was before we went to a geneticist. And I learned that, like, actually geneticists, they don't do a lot of genetic testing, as far as, like, because there isn't a lot mapped out. There's some, if it's XY, a deletion or insert, then obviously those are things that are tested for before, but there's not a lot of syndromes that are really genetically blood tested or any other way other than a nosology. So that was kind of mind blowing. But in the, with the autosomal DNA that you get from like 23andMe or Ancestry, I can get into specifics of the, remember, like the single nucleotide is like a point mutate. So it's a deletion or an insertion. And so it'd be like, if you have your A, T, G, T, C, I don't know the combination, but C and T go together and T and G go together or something like that. And you have, and then all of a sudden you have 2 that are missing, or you have 2 that are inserted that don't belong there. So even down to like a single point mutation, or, which could be an insertion or a deletion, or there's one other thing it could be, but down to those specifics, if you have a profile that you can run through those databases, like, I don't know how this killer could hide, even with what they have now, if they don't find any more. Because the specifics of that, if you think about your epigenetic profile, I mean, that's only unique to you. Say you've lived in, Indiana, California, then Alabama, like you're raised in an Amish community, or you were raised in like a crack house. Those things are going to have an epigenetic like change to your makeup. So that would be very identifying to a person. So I'm super excited about this. But so yeah, if you do have any tips, I want to put that out there too. Prattville Police Department. There's a secret witness line where if you want to remain anonymous, you can call 334-595-0259. or you can call Tom Allen at 334-595-0256. You can email him, tom.allen@prattville.al.gov. And this is, the last I looked, this is still on the Attorney General's, at least their website, as a cold case, like a featured cold case is Shannon Paulk. And that number is 1-866-419-1236. Cold case hotline, and then their email is coldcasetips@alabamaag.gov. I really recommend. I've tried to deal with like the state police. Yeah, I got nowhere. I would just the lead investigating body is Prattville Police Department, and that would be Tom Allen. So there's your best bet. But I do know I was watching. I highly recommend it. I found so many parallels to the journey of like Shannon Paulk's case, and I hope that this is what Tom is describing when these specialized agents are getting together with locals and they're reviewing and they're going back over this. But it's on Hulu. It's called At Wit's End. It is. I watched the entire thing. I was up till 3 a.m. Like I think it's got 4 episodes. At Wit's End on Hulu. It is the cold case of Melissa Witt, a 1994 cold case. And I'll tell you what, like everybody thinks these cases are just, it'd be so rare to have someone in your, sphere, your little sphere, little area in the world that would hurt a child. And then when you look at a case like Shannon's case and you look at a case like Melissa Witt and so many other ones, you are like, oh my gosh, there's like 25 potential people that I could see would be like capable of this because they've done other things. There's like a serial, this At Wit's End, there's a serial killer. That's a parallel with Shannon's case. There was one that they thought was involved. I mean, they're just like, that was like from this area. I mean, it's just a crazy roller coaster of a ride, but man, the heart of these detectives, like the main investigators, and they call it like they create a cold case like team where the main detective is like, he goes over it in this, big conference room. It's kind of cool to watch of like, I picked you because you think outside the box. I picked you because, you're going to challenge, you're not just going to go along to get along. You're going to challenge us. And that's what we need. We need some people that are just like not going to quit. And these are the qualities that he's asking for in his other, people that are joining this cold case team, specifically for Melissa Witt and like, I think one other case. And man, it's pretty awesome to watch that. And it's very hopeful. Like, I believe they're still waiting on the same place that we're in right now with Shannon's case. They're still in that place, but this has just been made into a TV series to where Shannon Paulk's case has not been, and you get to watch it. And it's really nice. I think that the people that love Shannon, I think that if they watch that At Wit's End, they'll get a better idea other than me just rambling on about the little I know about DNA, of like what is happening when an agency does this, when they call in people and they have a huge review, they review every single piece of paper, everything that they've written down, everything that's been collected from 2001 until present. And they just look at it. So when you watch this At Wit's End, you get to see what this process is from a bird's eye view. You get to watch them actually doing it. And man, I hope for Melissa's family that it comes to fruition, because they're doing the same forensic genealogy testing on her too. So, um, yeah, like I can't recommend watching that enough, especially for people that love Shannon. Just to give you some hope, of like it is still possible. They can catch this guy. And he should be really scared right now. Just knowing that this happened right here, he should be really, really worried. Should be real worried. And remember a long time ago, uh, Murder Accountability Project. It's run by Thomas Hargrove. I even called Thomas about this. But Shannon's Paulk was her originally. Let's see, which one is the original? Did I save the wrong one? Oh, I don't think I saved both of them. So it's been changed from Murder Accountability Project. He doesn't have access to what's that called? VICAP. But this is the information that is publicly available from VICAP. So VICAP is like I don't know, I can't remember what all the letters stand for, but you get the drift where I wish it was mandatory. I literally wish it was mandatory that every district, every little podunk town, every little PD, every place, every county, every town, every city had to put their cases into VICAP, because that's how you find patterns, and patterns are how you find serial offenders. But it was listed. I can't believe I forgot to save it, but it was listed. I think I have. Hold on, let me grab it. Mm, maybe I didn't. Oh gosh. Woo. Sorry. I know I sent that to myself. I know I did. But it used to say, oh, here it is. I guess I didn't. So for the longest time, it said that her case was solved. So solved, yes. And I was like, when I first saw that, I was like, what the heck? Like, we know it's not. We whether that's a technicality, whether that is a mistype. But when I talked to Thomas, he was like, I mean, I have an FBI guy, and like this is what I get, and this is what I put in. It didn't seem like that's again, the conversation was such a long time ago. I'm trying to remember the specifics of what he said because I don't want to misquote him, but he's like, how would I know to like change any of the data points so you can see what it looks like? It's a little spreadsheet format. And the only thing you don't get, which is, I just feel like I don't see what the big deal would be if the name was included in these. Obviously, the details and things like the nitty gritty of each case, obviously not. You're not going to get that information from VICAP, but like if you do a lot of research, you can go and find these cases on the Murder Accountability Project. But you got to try to find the names and match them with, like in this case, it's 2001. The victim was age 11, Montgomery, Alabama, Autauga County. So Prattville is the agency. It says the circumstances are other arguments. Solved, yes. Source, FBI, state, Alabama. Victim is white, female, and it says personal weapons includes beating. So everything is the same. Other than no, it's not solved. And you can move these, see these points right here. You can move these around on the spreadsheet. That's why like this one looks a little bit different than this one, just dependent on where I had moved this spreadsheet to the first or the, wherever you can move each data point on the spreadsheet. So all of the information is the same, but you can like move these. I can organize these however I want. I can put it by female. I can put that first. But the standard is the first one is like, is it solved or is it not solved? And now it's been changed to no, it's not been solved. So I know when I talked to Tom about it, he was like, oh, he didn't know. And I was like, well, on Murder Accountability Project, which is, and it is the public information that is available from VICAP, it says that her case is solved. So what does that mean? But I do, and then when I went to look before this live, I saw that they have changed that to not solved. I can remember when we were theorizing that could have meant they knew who it was. They knew who the killer was. And again, remember, they've had suspects from the very beginning, and they are still suspects to this very day, dead or alive. They have not changed. So did they not have a case? There's been a grand jury that's called. It was at least up until 2018. I don't think it started in 2016 or 2017. It was like a whole grand jury that they called to review this case. And they were able to, that was when they were finally able to forget about that sketch. Just if you were a little kid and you're picturing the scary man that comes in and takes your friend, and then this picture is like a sketched out version of what every child would think of as the scary mean man. I don't know. It's just the worst sketch ever. I hate it. There's been a couple. But the first one, I hate sketches. I don't like them. I just think that they do more harm than good in almost every single case that I have followed, even the Parabon ones, even the phenotype ones. People take them way too literally. And then if you think about this, what happened in this case, right off the bat, they've got this sketch of this, dark-haired, blockhead, bug-eyed, moley, hairy mole, looking thing, creepy-looking monster face. And you got it linked with, I think it was a red Jeep, So now you've got everybody focusing on this. Meanwhile, the killer's hiding in plain sight, more than likely right in that neighborhood. Floating right under the radar because now they got this out. So it literally isn't until I can't remember when that article is, between 2017 and 18, I'm pretty sure they were able to say definitively no. The sketch, and I think what I heard was they did hypnosis on these poor little children. I can't, that is so psychologically, if you've studied anything about hypnosis and this type of thing. And children, even if they weren't hypnotized, children are so impressionable. And obviously her friends wanted to help. And I think it has really messed up these two girls' lives, like, but they were called, or at least one of them was called, and like they had to say no, like they made up. I don't even know if that child knows, you know, left from right. I think it was highly instigated by whomever was interviewing these children. But it just, like you got to think about what that would do. Oh, I can rule out the person that's in my house, the man that's in my house, because he don't look like that. So you're not even paying attention to those subtle changes. Oh, got a new haircut. Oh, you threw away, you burned a bunch of stuff. You all of a sudden, like you got a new car. Oh, we're moving now. Oh, why weren't you at work yesterday? All of these things. You're still going to wonder what your man's doing or whatever, but like, you're not going to be looking at them as far as could they be the one that did this, because now you got this face to distract you from the monster that could be living in your home, which is a terrifying thing. And I think that was one main thing in this, that it'll be interesting to see when the case is finally solved. And I think it's going to be solved. I really do. I think it's a matter of time. And I feel like it's been a matter of time since at least 2019. But yeah, so that was something that was different. But other than a few articles, there was a, what was her name? Sherry. She's a pretty well-known investigative, like, journalist, I believe, that did a story on Shannon last year, or maybe in between this year and last year. And then obviously I told you about True Crime Garage. There's been a few scattered since 2019, when there was like that was so awesome too, that we were able to do all that during COVID, like, and get all those people there at the vigil, and the media there, and the mayors there that apparently didn't like each other. I didn't know that. And they were both there, and like, I'm not saying they don't like each other. I don't know that, but like a whole town showed up. The DA sent representatives, and now the DA, he's the DA now. He would be the one trying this case. His name's CJ. He was there, and another co-counsel was there. Tom Allen was there. Others were there. Like, the media was there, all during COVID. So that was pretty freaking awesome, and I hope the main thing was just like, hey, look at this case. This is totally solvable. Like, let's shine a light back on it. Let's start being annoying. Let's start calling, Kelly Ziegler. She's one of my very favorite prosecuting attorneys. She's got a whole series out, like a couple of them. Like, she's a badass. And that was one of the things she said. Just straight. She's kind of a straight shooter. Obviously, she's a DA. She's tried some pretty big cases and made some really bold moves in some of these cases. And I mean, she's famous for bringing in a bed into a courtroom and literally showing how this man got on top of this woman and killed her in a courtroom. Like, she jumps on the bed. Like, so she has said, it takes some, it's unfortunate, but it's the truth. Big eye, basically, like, media brings attention, and that gets the money, that gets the resources to the people that want, I want to say that want to solve this case. But if they don't have the manpower, they don't have the resources, they don't have the funds, they're up Schitt's Creek. But when you've got, look what happened in West Memphis 3 from the media, from like, I don't remember who all of the main like famous people were that involved themselves in that. Whether we think that, I think they're guilty. I think they had the right three and they got out on an Alford plea because of the media, because of famous people getting involved. Like literally, it's kind of crazy to think about, but that's why I keep doing this. That's why I started this podcast, because I was getting mad because no one was covering it. But yeah, I had a bunch of stuff we were gonna, go through, but we kind of already have. I've got a ton of episodes, but we've kind of already gone through the timeline, and I will put the links for what I was talking about when I was talking about DNA. I will put those into the description. Yeah, I saved all kinds of links just to, like to prove what I say is true. And it's so complicated, it's just like, it's so complicated. But Sheila Wyzaki, oh, why does that sound so familiar? Hi, Wes. Did see a man, but were wrong about the day they saw him. Yeah. Yeah. That's, oh, sorry. I left your comment up there the whole time. I've heard of that name. Hey, Frank. Live to fight another day. Hello. I hope you're doing well. I hope your family's doing well. Does anybody have any questions before I sign off? I didn't want to do too long, but again, it's the 23rd anniversary of Shannon being murdered, and it would be so great. I've said this in 2019, like, and in 2020, and ever since. And they've been saying this since 2001, like, it's horrible. I can't relate to the unsolved part, but like, I have a relative that was murdered in the late 80s, and I'll never forget, like that time of like when that, I mean, it's just such a shocking thing for a family, like, and that's like, I can't imagine like immediate family, like I was just extended family. She was my aunt. And I mean, she was just one of the most special people to me in this world because she paid attention to me, so, and she looked like Pocahontas. So when she was murdered, it really does kind of just like, everything just changes after that. I don't know. And then like, you look at the world differently. Time is kind of judged by how long it's been since this person has been gone, and like, if that was my own child or my sister, like, I can't even imagine what kind of a state I would be in today. That happened in 2000. My daughter was born in 2002, and she's turning 22 next week, so like, that's a long ass time to not have answers. And it's time for that. And the more people we can get together that just, I think there's a Mother Teresa quote about that, of like, oh, like, by myself, I can do this, but together, like, we can do a whole lot. Like, you can do a little bit, you can do your part, but together we can really make a difference. And that's just kind of what it takes. And that's why, again, please look in the description of this if you're on YouTube, and follow the page, follow the group. Add to if you have. I still get emails. I just emailed, and it was such a like. This is why I was wanting to come back out there in October. Of like, the person that emailed me was asking if like, has anybody done this? There's new owners of like, it's changed hands. Ask like, I want to talk to the new owners. I want to see, I don't know. I think, and then with the amount of like empty, abandoned, homes or pieces of property, like, is there anything there? And then when we were there, Candlestick, even in 2019, like, you definitely knew we did not belong there. Like Wes and I, and then 2 other ladies we were with, everybody was staring at us. Like they came out of their homes and were like, I think someone's going to call the police on us. Like they were like very leery of outsiders coming into their insulated neighborhood. We're just like literally we were just walking. I think I had my like iPhone, like whatever those sticks are called, but like, there was that one neighbor that talked to us, and man, I would love to go back to those people's house. And if you're listening, please reach out to me. Please reach out to me. We ran into you in 2019 when we were just walking down the street. I think I was wearing a shirt like this. No, I was probably wearing like something ridiculous, probably a tie-dye shirt. I don't know what I was wearing, but we were walking down the street and you came out and you talked to us and you were telling me this story about a place that somebody worked. And I really want the details of that story that you told me. These people lived there then, and they still live there in 2019. And I wish I had just like paid more attention, but I didn't want to, like video them. So like, I don't have anything to go back to like, what did we say? Like, what was that about? I want to know. Oh yeah, Wes. Like they knew, like everybody, it was just like, and everything got like really kind of like creepy. But when you look at it, it looks like the neighborhood just started dying right with Shannon. Like if you look at the pictures of before Shannon and then after, it is just a totally different landscape. And seeing it in person and like walking through there, you really do realize how rare it would be for some stranger to drive in this one little area and it's when you drive in there, so you're driving in from 31 and you're going like right down a hill. Like, and I'm not talking just like a little meandering type hill. I'm talking about like literally 2 car lengths of a drop, like a hill to the stoplight that you have to turn left or right on, like it is not somewhere that anybody would just stumble upon. I'm telling you. Hey, Gray. Yes, you did in 2021. Yep. I was talking about that earlier. So this is Gray Hughes Investigates. The guy I was talking about when I read you the tip that was going to sponsor the identifiers. That is him right here. And he has done what's yeah, I figured you did. Yeah, I think that was one of the times that I had like asked you, like, will you cover this case? And then you did. And then during the live, it like came out about the DNA stuff. I was in the chat. And then we obviously talked afterwards, and like it's still going on. Apparently they're gonna pay $30-some thousand because the FBI is gonna have some stuff tested. But yeah. But that's the cool thing though, is like, it could have been done. I don't know, because he did say in that email about prosecutable in Alabama. I don't know. I'd have to ask Gray and Dr. Fitzpatrick if they have any adjudicated cases in Alabama specifically, but I think it was a real missed opportunity for some of this testing to be done. And obviously we see from 2021 to 2024, when Gray had the episode and he offered to sponsor the forensic genealogy being done through identifiers, to 2024, the advancements in the more and more cases, like Hulu, like Max, everywhere you go and you see a mini series, a docu-series, this is what is, I think it's soon, like the CODIS is gonna have to change. I was just reading, and I don't know, it's some science update I get about DNA, and it was talking about the advancements just earlier, and I'm like, I'm literally gonna have to look up all of these words separately to like translate this, but seemed like it was basically saying to where they are trying to do that. I may be misreading it, so don't like take it to the bank on that. But the short tandem repeat with the single nucleotide, like the parts of the autosomal DNA, like the testing parts, they're going to be kind of combining the STR with the SNP, those single points of insertion and deletion. So that would be crazy. That would be awesome if CODIS was changed. I think there would be a lot more cases solved. But in that one-to-one comparison, even, you've got to have enough genetic material to be able to rule someone out. And I think we have a greater chance of that happening in 2024 more than ever. Like I was talking about earlier, down to, mine was so specific. I made my own templates to where it's called Live Wello, and it is for medical genetics, the genomic study of like for medical reasons. And I looked and like I got the specific ones for Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and then I translated them from they'll name them something, like usually off of, like one's called like Col 2A1A. And so they're named all these different, but that doesn't work with like translating the data. So you have to get this, you start with this little snip you've got, and then you got to go find the RSID for it in your raw data. And so then you got to upload the RSID numbers, and then you generate basically your own, like what information I specifically want to get out of my raw data, my daughter's raw data, down to those specifics where it was like, and then it pops up of whether it's like a heterozygous or like a homozygous, like you're heterozygous for this. So like when I think about even the major differences from me and my daughter, in our DNA that I have obsessively studied, because I did both of ours. So I'll run the templates with my raw data and run a template with her raw data and then compare them to each other, is vast. And this is on a medical research project that I've been working on since she was 6. So just if you think about, I'm her mother, so we share, she has half, like she's half me and she's half her dad. Those are her chromosomes. And so, and I also have my sister in there, which we share more DNA than me and my daughter. So that's helpful too for research purposes, if you could just get her to share with me. But yeah, BRCA1, the breast cancer ones, colon cancer, kidney cancer, they're using those genetically now. So there's making advancements with this in medical genetics and forensics. So it's really kind of awesome. Yeah. Yeah. I bet, Wes. Not yet. I just read an email from Tom. I asked for an update because today is 23 years since she was abducted and found murdered on October 6th. That they just had a team of 8 specialized FBI agents come in and did like a review of all the document, every piece of paper, every kind of evidence. They went back over everything, all the logs, all the case file, and pulled things, and what they've gathered that they finally have the most hope in of getting some of this, the more specific, the forensic and other types of testing done, is going to be around $30,000. So how much since you're here, Gray, how much is it? How much when you sponsored like the Bibb County John Doe? That was great. Like he was able to give this little boy his identity back, and it was so cool because I believe I'm still a member. I've been a member of his for a really long time. One of the first people I followed on YouTube in 2017. But how much has a case, like how much was it? I know it's different from identification to a criminal like case, but how much was it for them to get the identity of Bibb County John Doe? Hey, Sarah, good to see you. If you're still around, I thought it was around 8 or 9. That's what I was thinking in my head, but I think so too. I think so too, Wes. I think he really did. He was trying, and they were just not having it. Are you still going live tonight? Is it tonight or is it tomorrow night? I saw it popped up, a notification for your live open or sip and stream. I don't know. I don't even know what tonight is. It's Friday. I think hers are on Saturday night. But I was seeing if Gray was going to answer, but I'm pretty sure like it was under 10, but it was still, it's a pretty high amount for a John. Like, so there's Kate. That's what I'm saying is like Gray has raised the money through his channel, and literally, I did like Dr. Fitzpatrick and her team. She's got this like she's like a freaking savant. I think her name is Missy or Misty. I always get those two mixed up, no matter who the person is. But she is a genie out, like, oh my gosh, she's like a freaking genie in a bottle. Like she's a total savant. I don't know how she does it, but Gray will have them on, and like she could talk. I could just listen to them two talk forever. I mean, I've read Dr. Fitzpatrick's books anywhere that she's at. Like if I met her in person, I would probably like literally swoon. I don't even know. When I met Barbara Ray Venners, I acted like a complete weirdo. Those people are famous to me. Those are like me meeting a celebrity. So they're my celebrities. And I like met Barbara Ray Venners. If anyone knows who she is, I'm sure the people that know who she is like know what I'm talking about. Like she's a big deal. And when I met her at CrimeCon, I just like, oh, it's you. Like, that's all I thought to say was, it's you. And I was just like, oh my God. She probably thought, oh my God, great. I've got another stalker. Like, this lady is crazy. And I even tried to recover, and you could tell it was just like, no. All right. Looks like Greg's already gone, and I got to get going too. So thank you all so very much for being here. Everybody on the Facebook page, thank you for joining in. It was great to have everyone here. Christy. Hello, Christy. Christy Evans says, I want to thank you for what you are doing. Shannon was a beautiful, sweet girl and definitely deserves justice. Yes, she does. And hi, Christy. I hope you're doing good. Yeah. And thank you, Lisa, for coming in tonight. Jeanette, I saw you in here too. Everybody from the Facebook group, Wes, like you guys are all great. Thank you so much. And I know your guys' hearts, like that we just want whatever it takes. Just let's get it done. You know, it's 23 years too long. So the case I started with going on a podcast, and I want it to be that, like, not that I'm going to go away, but like I want this for them. You know, like they deserve this, and the community deserves this. The local law enforcement deserve it. You know, like Shannon, her killer deserves to be punished here on earth. You know, to be held accountable here on earth, and everybody to know his name. Not that he's the focus at all, but just I don't know. I don't think this killer is a psychopath. I don't think he's a serial killer. I think he's just a pervert. I think he's a pedophile. And I think that he's probably a serial offender, but I don't think he's a serial killer. And I don't think that that was actually the motive. That's just my personal. See, this is why I should have ended it, because whatever I think is just from what I've heard over all this time, and it's biased, and it is my personal opinion. So don't listen to me, but I'm going to go. Thank you all for being here. I hope you have a wonderful weekend.